Hey there, thanks for tuning into Bricks. I'm Chris, and I just visited one of the most insane used LEGO stores that I have ever been to. And there's a reason why. Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena is actually a location I've been to before. Last year, I did a meet and greet here with WILDEST, aka Jar Jar Binks, to celebrate the grand opening of the store. But when I came back this year, the selection absolutely blew me away. I have never seen any other used LEGO store with a sealed set selection like this. So much so that I decided I needed to make a video highlighting this store because, I mean, you're about to see why I was blown away the second I stepped foot in here. This was part of a massive trip all throughout California. I spent 2 weeks here, hung out with a ton of friends, and also visited with Sean, aka Bricks by Mind, as we traveled around the entire state trying to hit up as many used LEGO stores as we could find in a single day. So stay tuned for that video coming out soon, and the haul at the end of this video is actually from the entire trip. So that is super exciting, but this video is dedicated just to Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena because the selection of this store warranted a separate video. Trust me, you are about to see why. So let's jump into my adventure through this particular used LEGO store right now. Alright, so visiting Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena was just part of a massive LEGO shopping adventure I undertook with my buddy Sean, aka Bricks by Mind, going all over California on a big road trip trying to visit as many used LEGO stores as we could in one day. But here's the thing. We did not get a chance to visit Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena, and I am very, very sorry he missed out because this was so cool. I had to make a separate video just showcasing the insane selection of sealed and used discontinued items they had here. For me, this was almost the perfect store because it hit that nostalgia moment of the sets that I grew up with. Stuff like Atlantis and Power Miners and Mars Mission and the early days of Ninjago and Shima and Alien Conquest, that was my childhood. So coming in here and seeing entire waves worth of sets on the shelves, fully sealed from those childhood days of growing up and seeing LEGO sets on store shelves was insane. But that wasn't all they had. They had a crazy selection across all different eras, some of the rarest sets ever, like these LEGO Idea sets, the very first two to be made, and a ton of Bionicle as well, most of which were sealed in the box or canister. And oh my goodness, if I was trying to start a sealed Bionicle collection, one day I might, I don't know if that day is now, this would be the place I would hit up because they had so much. But let me just talk you through some of the craziness here because you are not gonna believe what you're about to see. I mean, you're already seeing a little bit, but I was just absolutely shocked to see these sets sealed on shelves. Look at that, the Power Miners Thunder Driller, one of the most iconic sets. Of course, going over to Bionicle, they had all sorts of sealed boxes like the Titans, the vehicles, even the play sets were in stock. And they had a little bit of everything. It was really crazy to me to see sealed stuff like Karzani from Bionicle, given that that is one of the rarest Bionicle sets ever, and especially doubly so sealed. It's just insanity. Of course, there were all sorts of different items here, almost an entirely complete collection of LEGO Factory, and of course I was able to pick up one of those from my haul, some great fantasy era and castle sets, and then even going back in time, they had some sealed sets from the early discontinued vintage days of Castle and Adventures. For me, it was just really cool going around the store and seeing little items I had missed, like taking a look at some Viking sets in the box. I have a lot of fond memories of getting this set, the double catapult, while I was literally on a cruise going around Europe, so just so many good memories associated with these sets. And that wasn't all. Because they were gearing up to celebrate Star Wars Day, which just happened a couple of days ago, they were stocked full of used and new LEGO Star Wars sets. Of course, my favorite section here had to have been the Exo-Force, Life on Mars, and Mars Mission section. I mean, what an insane selection, all fully sealed. And they even had some used as well. The Alien Mothership from Mars Mission, one of my favorite sets. They had some Ultra Agent sets like the Invisible Gold Getaway, featuring the Mr. Pale minifig from Ninjago. They had like the Ideas pop-up book, a city underwater base, the fully Venomized Groot, which I did pick up because I have the half and half Venomized one, and that was kind of an alternate build, but now I have them both. One of the coolest things here was even some Ninjago spinners like Energy Coal for $100 with minifigure and spinner, and all the cards was pretty crazy to see. And it was really cool to see so many Ninjago sets on shelves for decent prices. $45 for the Rattlecopter, $65 for the Empire Temple of Madness, and yes, they did have the original Ninjago City on display, ready to be bought, which was super cool. They even had some built Bionicles on display like Toa Inika Kongu, Terex the Glatorian, Toa Ignika, Strack, Brutaka, Hydraxon, a sealed mask pack, which was really cool to see, and all sorts of different elements, even some individual masks on sale. It was cool to see the original X-Men Jet for $40, which I think is a pretty good price. No minifigures, but still just for the jet itself, that was pretty nice. And then of course, we got to some of the super rare stuff. Sealed Santa Fe train car sets, all sorts of sealed classic space, underwater, Aqua Zone, Lego Star Wars, the original Ghost, the UCS ATST, which is pretty timely because rumors say we're getting another one this year. And of course, those incredibly rare, very first two Lego Idea sets, the Hayabusa Satellite as well as the Shinkai 6500 Submarine. This was back when Lego Ideas was still called Kuso, in the early days of Lego. One of the more interesting items here was this 3-pack of Castle, Town, and Space. Just a really interesting item to see fully shrink-wrapped, and that was not all. Again, their Star Wars selection was on point. They had Lord of the Rings sets fully sealed. I mean, I could keep going on and on. But I will say, this was the most unbelievable selection of different Lego sets from all different eras that maybe I have ever seen in a used Lego store, at least for sealed sets. I've been to a lot of used Lego stores in my time, and I'm often blown away by the sheer variety of used sets built and on display that you can pick up. Or if you have sealed sets, I've seen some crazy stuff in places like Singapore where they have just hundreds and hundreds of the same vintage battle pack. But never have I seen such a varied selection of sealed discontinued items from almost every single era of Lego. Like, you can see some of those sets there were the classic M-Tron and Spyria sets fully sealed. You had a good selection of U sets, but the sealed sets here just absolutely took the cake. That being said, there was an entire shelf of built modulars. A lot of these built sets were slightly newer, but it was really cool to see just random items and bits and pieces added into like a $5 value shelf or a $10 value shelf. And it was really interesting because the selection was just insane. I have to wonder how they keep on keeping the selection up, because I remember the selection was already crazy when I came here last year to do a meet and greet, but this was even wilder from the last time I was here. Just insanity. Of course, the minifigure selection was pretty decent as well. Nothing super crazy going on aside from one really special minifigure I was able to get my hands on, but it was cool seeing all sorts of different collectible minifigures from around the years. They were pretty stocked up across all the different collectible minifigure series, which I found to be pretty impressive. And then of course, you get over to the licensed CMF series, you go over to Harry Potter here with the Basilisk on display, the original one, which was super nice, and even a section dedicated to Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which was maybe one of the most filled out sections I've seen at a used Lego store of stuff like that. There even was a custom minifig selection as well, which was super cool. You had Chima, the Lego Movie, Minecraft, and then you got on to even more items down here of just extra additional pieces of Lego items that you could pick up and just add to your collection. I spotted a Kai's original fire bike for pretty cheap, which was really nice. Funnily enough, Legacy Kai was piloting it, and this was one of my favorite displays here. It was a showcase of all of the Elemental Kimono Ninja, which you can see there, including Lloyd exclusive to the book, as well as Energy Kai. There was a Castle Fantasy Era Dragon. Yes, that was a Phase 1 misprinted Commander Fox from Lego Star Wars, one of the minifigures I was missing from my collection, emphasis on was. And then of course, going back to the sealed sets, I know that certain friends of mine like Jonathan Mini Superheroes Today would have lost their minds seeing those sealed Indiana Jones sets, and even some sealed original Cars sets as well. Altogether, this was one of my all-time favorite stores to visit. The selection was insane. I could keep going on and on about all the different sets, like Space Police 3. So much nostalgia for these. They even had Wave 1 and Wave 2. Atlantis as well, all sorts of different Atlantis items, and then even some interesting sealed Dacta sets. This was kind of the precursor to Lego Education back in the early days, and it was mixed in with Lego Technic, and I think this one was open box new set, but still, great condition box, and certainly not something you see every day. And then you have these sealed DACTA items. Like, this is something I've never seen in person. And honestly, I was on the fence about picking it up. Since it is pretty much just a parts pack, I chose not to because I didn't really have any need to add it to my collection as a display model, but you know, I might change my mind and come back because it was very, very cool to see that. Of course, it has been years since I have seen Exo Force sets fully sealed on shelves. I love the box art for the Golden City sets, having them be in reflective gold. I can't really remember LEGO ever doing a reflective gold box art like that since Exo Force, so that was super cool to see. And again, as I mentioned, this was my favorite section. I have a lot of fond memories of going to like my local pharmacies like Bartell's and picking up the Deep Jungle sets, picking up the Arrow Booster in the box. Oh my goodness, just so many amazing sets here, including the very rare Gate Assault set, which was a limited edition set, which you don't really see nowadays. Stuff like the Combat Crawler X2, so cool to see. The fight for the Golden Tower, oh my goodness. Just absolute craziness when you see the selection here, and it just keeps on going. One of my favorite Exo Force sets is this one, the Bridge Walker versus White Lightning. It depicts a smaller battle machine fighting against this gigantic evil robot one. And then of course you have the iconic Striking Venom. I remember where I was when I got this from the Bellevue Square Mall back in Washington State. I found it in 2008, which was pretty rare because it was already kind of discontinued or on its way out by then. But super cool stuff. The Mars Mission Aero Tube Hanger fully sealed. Crazy to see something like that. And so much more. Of course, just that era alone was not enough because you have so many different items from Model Team. The early days, kind of like a precursor to what LEGO Creator Icons is now. You had Pirates of the Caribbean, Indy over here, even the rare LEGO Farm set, which I was very, very tempted, came very close to picking that one up, as well as even some older LEGO City sets. Like, their city selection wasn't just newer sets, they had discontinued city items as well, which was crazy. And of course, I have a soft spot for Cookjago. It's Ninjago time, Doc Wyatt, hashtag Wyatt Wednesdays, it's Doc O'Clock, and the Ninjago selection was amazing. They had a lot of early sets like the Lightning Dragon Battle sealed in the box, which is super rare to see. They had Orient Expedition up there, LEGO Adventures, Desert, Dino Island, Jungle, pretty much all the Orient Expedition sub-themes are represented, and one of my first sets ever was this Ocean Odyssey set from LEGO Creator 3-in-1 that I just have a lot of fond memories of. Of course, they had Alien Conquest, like the Great Mothership set, all sorts of phenomenal builds here, and just from a different time of LEGO when they were experimenting a lot more with original themes, and this just brought a smile on my face seeing all of these sets. One of the coolest sets I saw here was also the zombies from Monster Fighters. If anyone remembers Monster Fighters, these were some of the best LEGO sets they made, and we're getting a new version of the Haunted House later this year, which is super cool. And of course, I had to showcase the Final Showdown Spider-Man set, which is very rare to see in the box. But that's not all, because I got a tour of the back rooms. So let's take a look at that and then our haul right now. So this store gets crazier and crazier. You just saw the outside shelves stocked with all sorts of discontinued and rare sets, but I'm backstage right now and there's so much more. My mind is literally blown right now. It is so cool seeing a set like this Alpha Team set, Blue Eagle versus Snowcrawler sealed with the box art and everything showing the transformation feature, and it's in pristine condition, and the more I look, the more treasures I find. Something like this Mars Mission set, again, fully sealed, insane to see, and then coming over here, look at this, like you've got Ogle's base from Alpha Team, just another Durmstrang ship, you've got the Alien Conquest mothership. I am losing my mind right now. This is the back room. Like, this is just the stuff they don't even have out yet. Look at this, a sealed Rock Raiders tunnel transport set. Oh my goodness. This is not something you see every day. I mean, this is really, really special. And I gotta say, this has got to be the craziest selection of used LEGO sets, new LEGO sets, and rare sets that I've seen at maybe any Bricks and Minifigs. Like, I'm literally struggling to think of another Bricks and Minifigs that had this much craziness just packed in, and a lot of it isn't even out yet. So you can tell they are going to be stocked forever, and just absolutely would recommend paying this store a visit because the amount of stuff they have is insane. If that wasn't crazy enough, there's another back room, and this back room is currently being stocked with a ton of sealed and brand new discontinued LEGO Star Wars sets to prepare for their celebration around the May 4th weekend. Specifically, May 3rd Saturday, they're going to have a really special guest, Sam Witwer, the voice of Darth Maul, as well as a ton of other characters in the Star Wars universe, like Starkiller from the EU, is gonna be here doing a meet and greet, which is crazy. Last time I was here, they got Ahmed Best and, well, myself, and now they got Sam Witwer, so that is wild. But just look at the selection here. I was just told that this contains a misprint Commander Fox sealed in the bags, which is absolutely nuts to me. I mean, pulling out a bag here, look at that. It is a brand new torso, misprinted, which is one of the rarest LEGO Star Wars minifigs ever, and to see that in the sealed bags is just insane. I don't think you're ever going to find one in such good condition. But then going back here, they have sets from all different eras. Like, they've got, of course, the ATRT from 2013, the Rancor Pit, this is a great one, and then over here they even have like a Mos Eisley pod race over here, so that is one of the oldest LEGO Star Wars sets from 1999, and it's just wild seeing this selection. I'm having a field day. I'm honestly losing my mind. Is that a monitor? Oh my gosh. No, that's sealed? What? Oh my goodness, I'm literally losing my mind here. I'm just noticing things off the top of my head. And by the way, if you saw one of my recent videos, I just got the giant castle chess set, which was on the top of my wanted list for years and years. I couldn't find it anywhere, so I was like, you know what, fine, I'll get it off Bricklink. Well, guess what? They just happened to casually have one sitting right there. So if that isn't enough to tell you that one of the items I've been looking for years but never found is just sitting in the back room, well, I just gotta say, just come and check this out. The selection is wild, and I just can't wait to come back here and visit and see what other stuff they have, although I can't even imagine them having much more because they've got basically everything. I gotta call out one of my favorite LEGO Adventurers sets here. I actually got this when I was a kid, but I think this is actually sealed, which is crazy to see. It's the LEGO Adventurers blimp. It's one of the most unique packaging that I've ever seen for a LEGO set. You've got the blimp kind of sticking out of the end here, and it's just such a cool build. Honestly, I'm really tempted to pick this up just because I love the set so much. I have it, but building it, opening the sealed box and building it is going to be a crazy experience. So I'm tempted, but at least I think I should figure out what I want to buy that I don't own, and then I'm going to buy the stuff that I already own, but I just think it's cool to have another one of, because I know I'm walking out of here with a gigantic haul. And speaking of that haul, it's haul time. This haul comprises the entire haul from my massive shopping adventure through California, so while not every single set came from Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena, I thought it made sense to include in this video because most of the sets here, I would say at least like 50 to 60%, did come from this one store, so let's jump into it right now. So starting out with the boxes here, most of these sealed sets actually came from Bricks and Minifigs Pasadena, which was that absolutely crazy store with an insane selection of sealed items. In fact, all the boxes here, so the Insectoids one with the insect mask, the Lunar Lander, the LEGO Factory Design Winner Skyline set, as well as the Year of the Snake were pretty much all sealed, which was absolutely insane to see, given the rarity of a lot of these items. In fact, I think there's only like 3 listings of the Skyline set on Bricklink right now, and it's pretty crazy to see that in the box brand new, and same for Year of the Snake, because this was actually an Asia exclusive with a special print to celebrate the Year of the Snake in 2013, which was before LEGO was doing their traditional Lunar New Year style sets. The other 2 sets here were used, but they did come with the box. You have the Ewok Attack from one of the very first lineups of LEGO Star Wars, and then you have a LEGO Castle Knights Catapult Defense, which was just super cool to see a fantasy era set on shelves like that. But let's move into these sets themselves. There's a lot to see here, so I'm going to start off with just some of the items I just mentioned. This Skyline set was kind of a precursor to LEGO Ideas in the sense that all of these buildings were designed by actual LEGO AFOLs and not LEGO designers, which is why they're a little questionable in their building techniques. These came from a very different era of LEGO, where basically they were taking in fan ideas, but the building techniques were very rudimentary. They were promoting the Design by Me program, program. So for Lego Factory, Building Your Way, that was with the Lego Digital Designer back when that was still a thing. And each of these 4 buildings basically represent a different mock made by a Lego artist. So you've got this one right here, which was called the Hot Pursuit. So you've got kind of like a police building here. I actually think this is the most interesting building to me. It's got more of a unique architectural design with these studs on the side details. You even have a monorail, a helicopter, and a police car, then maybe like a getaway boat or something like that. So all sorts of fun stuff there. Then you have Lego Corp right here, which is very, very simple as a building. To be completely honest, this was probably one of my least favorites because you're just building a giant rectangle and there's not much else to it. But again, this was very, very early days before when Lego fans were just starting to kind of put together mocks and enter these competitions. Next up, you have Sears Towers. That's kind of interesting how this is mimicking a real world building right here. And I think it's pretty decent for the rudimentary building techniques of its time. It's definitely not the most advanced thing, but I think I like it for what it is. And then I think the most advanced model is the Statue of Liberty here. This was actually designed by Nathan Sawaya, who you might recognize from a ton of famous Lego art pieces all around the world. He actually is an official Lego artist who has a ton of museum galleries and such open about his Lego sculptures. So it's pretty cool to see some of the early origins here. We've gotten a lot of Statue of Liberty sets over the years, but this one is definitely one of the ones that is much more focused on kind of brick-based building going up. And we've seen better ones since, but it is really interesting to see kind of an early model like this. Moving on from that though, we have the Lego Insectoid set. This is actually a set that I do already own, but it was brand new, and the reason why I got it was not for the set. It was for this Insectoids mask, which, yes, is wearable. I have been looking for this for years. I have never found one in good condition. I've actually never really found one in general, and it was a complete surprise to see it fully sealed in the box. It was 100% sealed, brand new, which was absolutely insane to see. What a unique box. Lego doesn't really do stuff like this anymore, so that was super cool, and yes, it is wearable. Maybe I'll wear it at the end of this video. Moving on from that, we have the Year of the Snake set. The interesting thing about this is that this was actually an existing Creator 3-in-1 set, but now it was turned into a 4-in-1. It was a dinosaur set that they basically just used the pieces to make a snake out of, so you could make the snake out of the existing set, but the exclusive thing here was that 2013 printed circular tile piece there, which is super interesting to see. You can see the box art itself actually does have a different language being used for the text as well, which is super interesting. You don't really see that nowadays. And you can see that printed element right there. So that is a very, very nice addition to my collection, especially given how rare a set like this is. Moving on from that, the last one here we have is the Lego Discovery Channel series, which was a pretty short-lived theme, but obviously we'd see some stuff like this pop up in the future. We even have a newer version of this released several years back, and that is the Lunar Lander. And this actually is supposed to be a replication of the NASA Lunar Lander here. You can see it actually fully lifts up, so you can kind of have this blast off from the platform there. So there's all sorts of great detail being used here. There's pretty rudimentary building techniques, but still, it kind of gets the job done. You can actually retract the landing gear. You can kind of open up some of the positions here to actually allow the astronauts to come out. And the astronauts themselves are pretty nicely detailed. The interesting thing is they are just using stickers for the American flag there. So that is just a stickered element. Same for the decals on the lunar lander itself. There's just a sticker detail being used there. But it is pretty interesting to see a set like this. And finally, the final 2 boxed sets that I did mention were the Lego Fantasy Era Knights set here, which is just a fun catapult, but I think my favorite part about it is actually the Skeleton Battalion, which they've created here. The Skeleton Battalion itself is using just one of these skeleton shields, as well as an archer with a black helmet. It's a very, very simple design, but one that looks really cool and definitely fits into the Fantasy Era world. Moving onwards, we have the Lego Star Wars Ewok Attack as well, featuring the very first design for a Scout Trooper with speeder bike. Super, super vintage style of design, the older style of Ewoks, and then my favorite part of the set, which is this Ewok glider, which is kind of soaring in the skies above, mounted on a ball joint, so you can angle it different ways. It also comes with a pretty simple catapult as well, which is pretty funny how I've gotten basically 2 different catapults in this one haul. And while we're in the Star Wars section, I got this little droid escape pod with the classic versions of C-3PO and R2-D2. I already own the minifigures, but I don't think that I had this built at least, so this is going to be a fun one to add to my collection just to kind of display alongside the other droid escape pods. But moving on from that, there were a ton of sets that I got that actually did not have boxes, and that's actually what I prefer. There was one more brand new set, and that was this Technic set right here. Unfortunately, the box itself, as you saw, was pretty much just the interior of the box, but this is packed full of functionality. It's utilizing the hydraulic piston method here, so you kind of press down on this, and you can see you can cause it to lift up, and then you can switch it down, and you can cause it to go down. You can really just retract it up there. So it's really, really interesting how you can kind of use this mechanism. The fascinating thing when putting this together was that I actually had to cut the hydraulic tubes themselves, or the pneumatic tubes. This was definitely something that was a very challenging build. Even just as a standard Lego set, there were lots and lots of different gear functions going around. You can rotate this, you can actually steer the model itself. You can retract this back and forth. You can retract the string back and forth. There's a lot of things that you can do here, and you can see just all of these little tiny bits and pieces of things that you can twist and turn to actually change the way that this works. So it's a really interesting model. I had a ton of fun building it, but it really goes to show that Lego Technic has really come a long way, not just in terms of making the mechanisms even more complex, but making the instructions easier to understand. This was genuinely kind of a challenging build because the instructions would just have you put things on, and then just you had to really make sure that you were paying close attention to make sure the gears were lined up and the hoses were cut the exact right length and the string was tied up correctly. So lots of interesting things going on with that build. Moving on from that, we have a relatively modern set here. This is the fully venomized version of the venomized Groot. They had it for super cheap. I think it was like $25, and I already owned the venomized Groot, but I kind of used the half Groot, half venomized Groot form, so I thought it'd be cool to actually own the fully venomized form as well. So that's just gonna be something to add on to my collection, almost like now I own 2 copies of that set. Now moving over here, speaking of Marvel superheroes, this is a pretty interesting one because this was the Doc Ock's final, I have the power of the sun in the palm of my hand kind of final death scene here, where you've got this really interesting kind of scientific mechanism inside here for the fusion reactor. It was one of the classic Lego Spider-Man sets, and it was pretty cool because this was only $100, but I got it because I already owned the minifigures, but I just needed the set, and this was $100 without the minifigs, so it was actually a pretty good deal. You have a pretty fun play feature here that kind of splits this open to cause the entire lab to explode. It's a really interesting build, and I have to wonder if Lego will ever revisit it someday because it is a pretty interesting location. It's not perfect. There's actually supposed to be transparent purple pieces being used here instead of blue with a print on them. The actual windows are supposed to all be stickered up, but only one of them does have the actual stickers. So it's not 100% perfect or complete, but it was a really good price. And normally this set is a lot more expensive. So I'm happy just replacing the parts that I need to. There's just a few purple parts in there that need to be replaced, and then a few of the stickers, and then it will be totally good. Moving on from that, we have a very old vintage set, and this was actually kind of a homemaker set predating the minifigure. It's a really interesting build because obviously it's at a completely different scale, but all of these stickers and decals were present, which I thought was super cool. You have the American flag there, which is pretty neat. You've got this chalkboard showcasing some math equations there and just showing like 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3, so on and so forth. And all of the students have those corresponding numbers they've written down. You can see they're being very studious, copying down exactly what the teacher is telling them to. You've even got some numbers as a sticker on here. So this was a really, really interesting thing to put together. It's definitely part of that vintage style of Lego for the old homemaker style sets, and it's just another really nice one to add to my collection. Speaking of vintage Lego, we have the Fabuland Fire Station here. Now, unfortunately, this particular build was honestly just not the most accurate to the actual set. It's missing like a base plate, a few trees, a few other bricks to kind of add some detail, and that's why it's just kind of falling apart here because there's nothing really holding it together. But it was relatively inexpensive, and I can pretty easily get all of the missing pieces. It was sold as is, so I just wanted to get it mostly for the figures, the accessories, all of the Fabuland specific pieces that need to be there are there, especially this piece right here. Super, super cool. Just a completely different style of Lego building. And of course, we're celebrating Fabuland here this year with the Lego house set, so it felt pretty perfect to pick this one up. Moving over to another very strange scale of LEGO, we have two Belleville sets here. Now, Belleville is a theme I am absolutely fascinated by. They use just such different pieces compared to other LEGO sets, and I am kind of trying to collect like all of the Belleville sets, at least all the fantasy ones. And these aren't fantasy ones, but I still thought they were really interesting because look at just how large these big green pieces are, giant base plates. Look at that giant skateboard. Belleville is one of the strangest LEGO themes ever, but I love how this character just has the LEGO logo on the shirt. That's really cool, and I will buy any Belleville I come across that I do not already own. So I had to pick these up. They were also pretty cheap. I think they were like 50 bucks a piece or something like that, so not too bad. And for the pieces that you get that are so interesting, I was very happy to add this to my collection. Look at that chrome silver bucket. That is so interesting. But with that, there's only a couple of final items here, and we have a Knights Kingdom 2 Evil Vladik Knight or Shadow Knight Chariot here. This one didn't come with the rest of the minifigures or the green horse, which is the rare part of the set, but it was super inexpensive, and just one that I'm going to consider good enough to add to my collection because I think I do already own the green horse that would have come with this. So that's what it is. It actually is missing a catapult piece. It should have had like this catapult on top. Super easy for me to replace, but I do find it funny how technically this is the third catapult in this haul. I got this gigantic minifigure that says Dig Those Dinos. It was a Legoland California exclusive giveaway that was only given to kids who participated in the Dig Those Dinos events where they kind of pan for fossils. It's a really weird and strange promo item, like the legs and arms, or sorry, the head and arms move, but the legs do not. And it's just a really bizarre thing that I wanted to add to my collection. Moving on from that, we just have a few final items. I will land on the most expensive item, but we're going to start off here by just taking a look at these Mixels. Now, the cool thing about these Mixels is that they were actually all sealed. These were sealed in the bag, and I kind of just wanted to have the experience of opening up sealed Mixels. They were around like $20 to $25 a piece. Some of them were $15, but they're a little more expensive than they were before, but getting them sealed was super cool, and of course I had to open them up and build them. There were a ton of spare pieces because I already own every single LEGO Mixel set, but now I want to go in and actually own multiple copies so I can build all the combiner models. Like you have the Maxes here, you have a Mix right here, and you just have a standard one right here, which I will be combining with some of the other Mixels that I have at home because I just want to be able to collect all of the different variations of these characters. I think that would be super fun. But finally, there is one last item here that actually was the most expensive single item I picked up. And Star Wars fans might recognize this minifigure because this is Phase 1 Commander Fox, who I actually already own. But this is a very special version of him. It's technically an official, well not official, but it was a widely released misprint. Similar to the black hair Kanan Jarrus, the smooth hair Leia, or even the recent Qui-Gon Jinn with a different colored beard, which kind of came out as a misprint earlier this year. This is supposed to have a dark gray set of circles printed on the torso to keep it to be more accurate to the actual animation counterparts, but this version of the figure does not have those dark gray circles. It's a very minor difference, but because of that, this is a very expensive figure. The going price was, I think, around $850, but the store was kind enough to give me a bit of a discount on that, so I'm very happy about that. But it is very cool to finally add the misprint version of Commander Fox to my collection because I never really thought I would own it, but I just saw it, it was for sale, and I just had to pick it up. But with that, I think we have summed up the entire Bricks and Minifigs haul throughout California. We visited a ton of stores to get to here, and this was such a cool experience just going through and picking all of these up. Of course, let me know in the comments, do you own any of these items? Which ones maybe do you want to own? Have you had experiences going to any of these Bricks and Minifigs stores? And which place should I check out next to go LEGO store hunting? Because this is always one of the most fun activities. Again, I'm here for business, but I just had a few free hours in the day and I was like, you know what, Sean? We're hitting up Bricks and Minifigs. So what a fun experience. I hope you enjoyed this crazy adventure through California, hunting for rare LEGO. I certainly was able to pick up quite a few items I didn't already own, so that was super cool. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning into Duck Bricks. Be sure to like and subscribe for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Bye for now.